take it, I'm still got there out there.
You got it close up? Okay, let's do it. You're gonna have to all be outside, okay, my flash is not working.
Okay, well, sometimes they make, save at least one picture. Yeah, save at least one picture for me, please. We'll come down and
Put it out with the 826. Check they like these meetings. Be right there where they need it.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second annual Gathering of Memories, the Confederate Air Force's limited air show here at San Marcos Airport. Approaching on the runway right now is the Mitchell B-25, the Yellow Rose. Let's welcome her as she lands and taxis in.
Wind to 210.5, test 10. Suggest landing runway 12.
This is a Hellfire anti-tank missile. It's with the H-64 primary weapon system. We use them in Desert Storm down in Iraq against tanks and hard targets. It's a 100-pound missile, flies approximately Mach 1.2, and will defeat any known armor in the world today. This is the H-64 Apache helicopter. It's the Army's current attack helicopter. It's in service all over the world. And saw a very successful service down in Iraq and Saudi Arabia during Desert Storm. All the stories.
Next, please, this is the stage for Bob Jones. Bob Jones, would you please?
Oh, there you go, Fred. Hawking all the publicity again.
Hey, I do want to tell you a little bit about this Jeep. This is a World War II Jeep, and I had it documented. And George Patton used this Jeep in the Battle of the Bulge. It's a very important Jeep. It's got a lot of history.
What do you fly? side. Oh, is that right? Well, we're glad to have you join us. Yeah, that I came along a couple of years ago. Yeah. That was a lot of fun.
We're going to play the music of Glenn Miller from the 40s, and we're going to bring you back a lot of memories there. And I have a special presentation before this dance, in which you'll see a lot of great footage of the World War II aces. Lil Ayers is the commander, and she's out here just about everywhere. Stop her when you see her and give her a big hello. Darling, is there still a spark?
Fantastic. Who would have believed it?
Look at all the people.
That's their plane. The things they're going to do next. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, on the runway right now. There she goes. Fighters in World War II. Just as the Mustang takes off, you look over to your left, here comes the ladies and gentlemen, the A-26 medium bomber making a pass. There's the T-51 Mustang right above us now, ladies and gentlemen. Behind him, coming fast, the TBM Avenger. gentlemen, in formation, the TBM Adventure and the P-51 Mustang. Coming right at you. There she goes, ladies and gentlemen. Bomber, making the turn toward your left is the B-25 Yellow Rose. This is the type of bomber that General Doolittles took off the carrier of the Hornet when he made his 32nd raid over Tokyo, and we've got people here that have well been sitting in action. Overhead, the C-47 Doolittles into the turn, and coming at you right now on a real low level and very, very fast, the P-51 Mustang, ladies and gentlemen. Look at her go. Isn't that beautiful? Over the hump in the China Burma India Theater. It was in Vietnam that was gunship. Versatile airplane in the U.S. Air Force. Just look at that thing. Isn't that pretty? Real fantastic presentation of the war heroes from World War II. All of our honored guests that are here, the Doolittle Raiders, the guys that fought with Chennaults and the Flying Tigers, followed by another one. Look, on the track. Another steerman across the runway here. Ladies and gentlemen, now towards the takeoff point, the four T-34s coming at you at one time very short. And what you got there is tail end Charlie. And it is in beautiful shape. Look at this pretty thing. Central Texas Wing. It's 8 o'clock. For you officers and enlisted personnel, that's $2,000. For you civilians out there, that's with a big hands on 12 and a little hands on 8. Anyway, we are going to have a wonderful night tonight. I want to introduce myself. First, I'm Charlie St. George. I've been the host of the Veterans View program on public and commercial radio for the past 5 years. And I'm going to be your MC tonight. As I said, we're going to have a lot of fun. We've got a long program, so we're going to get into it right away. We're going to start off with this great band, the flashbacks under the direction of Ken here, and we're going to do the Armed Forces medley. First, the United States Army. Please stand for the posting of the colors by the ROTC of Southwest Texas State University. Please stand and remain standing, please, for the national anthem. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the invocation by Colonel Bob Ayers.
Shall we talk to God? Gracious God, once again we gather in your presence as grateful citizens of a country that you have so richly blessed. We thank you for that freedom, and we thank you that when freedom has been threatened, strong people have stood up to the aggressors, some of whom intended to enslave the whole world. World War II is probably the greatest threat that freedom has ever faced. At that time, Americans stepped forward to defend freedom, wherever it was threatened, as far back as the Kosciuszko Squadron in Poland, the Spanish Civil War, the Eagle Squadrons, they were fighting before our entry into the war. The AVG was in position, trained and ready before Pearl Harbor, and entered combat immediately after Pearl Harbor. Following close on their heels were those who held in the Philippines, those who raided Tokyo, the B-25s pulling off the Navy carriers, those who held the Coral Sea, those who turned the tide in the Pacific Midway, those who started to climb back to Guadalcanal, then New Guinea, the 8th Air Force starting the fight from Britain, then Torch, North Africa. Whatever time period was involved, some Americans had reached the age to join the fight. Lord, we believe that what we did was and still is in line with your will. We believe that you want people to be free. Tonight we celebrate that dedication and that willingness to sacrifice, and we honor all those who answered the call. We thank you for those who return to us and pray that you hold close to your heart those who went to be with you. Bless our fellowship tonight, bless the food to our nourishment, and help us to perpetuate the spirit of those who unhesitatingly stepped forward. And we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, I have the privilege of introducing to you the lovely lady who is responsible for creating a gathering of memories. This lady has to her credit 16 years in the Confederate Air Force service, 2 years as the Central Texas wing leader, and an unprecedented following of wing members and friends whose trust she has earned and who love her and respect her. Never in the history of the Central Texas Wing has so much been accomplished as has been accomplished under this lady's leadership. And never has a wing leader gotten so much work out of a bunch of old male aviation buffs who had rather be hangar flying than working. It is with great pleasure that I present to you the lady who is affectionately known as her Supreme Commandership, the first and only female wing leader in the Confederate Air Force, Colonel Lillian Ayers.
Welcome everybody to the second annual gathering of memory. And on behalf of the Central Texas Wing, I welcome you to this gathering of memories fundraiser. I would especially like to extend a warm welcome to those of you who traveled from far away and at great expense to be with us this evening. Please know that your attendance and support is greatly appreciated. I also extend a special and sincere thank you to all of our honored guests this evening who have so graciously volunteered their time to help promote our fundraiser. Our success this weekend has been assured with your presence and we are most grateful. Just look at what we have done in the past year. We've been able to accomplish so much in the hangar. The Officers Club, the new roof, the gift shop, the P-38 has been kept operational, the P-39 has a newly overhauled engine, and we have started work on our World War II Artifacts Museum, which is just going to be located just right behind us. All of this has been done because of donations, hard work, and the funds raised at last year's gathering of memories. But we still have much to accomplish. Continued restoration on the hangar will be expensive. The P-38's fuel cells certainly will not be cheap. And finishing out the museum will be costly. All of these projects are in dire need of financial support, and that's where funds raised this weekend will be spent, supporting the wing's aircraft and facility. So please participate in our silent auction. There are some wonderful items to be auctioned off, and your money will be used for a great and worthwhile cause. Tonight, we wish to honor all veterans who serve in the nation's armed forces. If you served during any of these times, please stand so that you may be recognized. Do we have any World War I veterans with us this evening? Any World War I? All right. Veterans this evening. Will you please stand and be recognized? World War II. How about the Korean War? Some of those World War II veterans are going to continue standing for the Korean War even. Korean War veterans, please.
Thank you all. And now it is my pleasure to introduce individual that I am proud to call a good friend. I met this gentleman about 1974, 1975, and at the time he only owned 3 or 4 warboats. I went to work for him and had the ball of my life. He has supported the Confederate Air Force for years. He founded the Central Texas Wing. He supports the wing. He has donated the Foxwell 44 to the Confederate Air Force, the P-39, contributed to CAF. And through his efforts, we brought the P-38 to San Marcos and rebuilt it. It is my extreme pleasure to introduce Colonel John Stokes of Central Texas Wing. Thank you, John.
If it had not been for dedication and effort, many people, this video could not have been made. All the warbirds you saw fly today have similar stories about people dedicated to restoring the few remaining World War II aircraft to flying conditions, so that the current and future generations can see and hear these great, colorful warbirds again. I had the pleasure of accompanying one of our honored guests, Colonel Hank Potter, to Oshkosh Airshow a few weeks ago. Oshkosh is the largest air show in the world. Thousands of aircraft there from around the globe. But there were several important aircraft obviously missing because they have become so rare. However, tonight we have two of these missing aircraft in this hangar. The P-39 Airacobra, directly behind you, is the only remaining P-39 still in flying condition of 9,000 that were built. The other is the airplane on my left, and my favorite, the P-38 Lightning, of which there are only 5 of the 10,000 that were built in flying condition. Poor at the moment, because like old soldiers, old P-38 bladders never die, they just let go. We pulled the fuel tanks a few weeks ago, a task that's more easily described than accomplished. We sent them off to California to be replaced for a mere $17,000. And thanks to George Taylor, Jim Benham, Luther, our P-39 has a freshly rebuilt engine and will soon be flying. All this and fixing up this 50-year-old hangar costs lots of money. And that's why we are so pleased to have such a large turnout for the second annual Gathering of Memories. This is our one big fundraiser of the year. I would like to recognize some people who were most helpful in putting this event together and ensuring its success. The folks at Brown Distributing of Austin, distributors of Budweiser beer, have been an enormous help. We wrote them a letter last fall requesting assistance for this year's Gathering of Memories. I received an immediate response from Agnes Michelle. We made a proposal, it was accepted. They provided funding, made banners, and provided extensive advertising on 4 radio stations in Los Angeles area, key radio stations. Mr. Brown, Agnes, and the rest of Budweiser, we'd like you to stand if any of you are here. We hope some of you are, and thank you very much for your support. Are you all here, any of the group Budweiser here? There we go, there's one. So folks, the next time, bye-bye. We have someone else that I would like to recognize. He has supported us enthusiastically this year and last. He and his crew flew down 5 aircraft from Dallas for our show. 5 of the most beautifully restored aircraft in existence. They include PC-17 and PT-22, a TPM Avenger torpedo bomber that you can see at the end of the hangar that won Best of Show at Oshkosh 2 weeks ago. And also the P-51 Mustang is right behind you there. Just a beautifully restored World War II aircraft in D-Day markings. Jim Cavanaugh, please stand, and the rest of your crew, we really appreciate your support. Next year, maybe we can afford to bring down the F-86 and MiG-15 and the Spitfire that you have up there. One other group I would like to recognize, and that's the folks who brought in the Yellow Rose. I think it might be the favorite airplane of at least 4 members in Doolittle Raiders here who are here tonight. Thanks again for bringing down that beautiful airplane. Now, we're going to meet our honored guests.
early 1942, the Tigers go on the offensive, launching low-level strafing attacks against Japanese airfields. On the first mission, Tex Hill teaches Jim Howard the importance of a wingman.
We went into this little airfield, and of course we figured, you know, we were going to have total surprise. We didn't bother to look up.
But I bore in and strafed the planes that were lined up, and then came around a second time and strafed a whole line of other fighters where they were all turning up on the ground. Well, by golly, there were Japanese fighters in the air circling.
And this guy was on Jim Howard's tail, and so I closed right in behind him. I was so excited. I just looked him right through the windscreen there, following those traces, and went right in behind him and just hosed him down.
David Lee Tex Hill, son of a Texas Ranger, will go on to score 18-plus kills. In the dark days of 1942, Americans at home need victories, and they need heroes. The Flying Tigers supply both.
Tex Hill, the Flying Tigers.
Thank you. I must tell you that I'm in awe to be amongst the people that are here tonight. There are people here that I know there are many in the audience who've done great things, probably even greater than most of us have done. But when I'm in a group here with fighter aces, Doolittles, Desert Storm, 229th Attack Helicopter outfit that carry our logo, performed so well in Desert Storm, and the other people that are here. I'm in awe. I mean, this is I need to introduce some of our people here. I'd like to first introduce a friend, P.J. Green, we were in China and shipmates going over there on a Dutch ship. We had many adventures on that. And coming back, P.J. ran a gunner school down in Mount Florida, and I, under his tutelage, learned to fire a gun. Because I'd been pretty lucky over there a little earlier, but I had a little problem there with that T6 on the sock. But anyway, P.J., one of our great pilots, and I'd like to ask him to stand if he would. Then we have Don Rodewald, dear friend, like all of us in the American Volunteer Group. We're very close people. I mean, we're like family. Roddy was an armor over there, and China came back with others, and they took flight training, and I happened to have the proving ground group at Eglin, so I got them down as test pilots. He and a guy named Richardson and another guy named Syke who would have been one of the test pilots coming down, but he was killed in his training. But Roddy came down, became a fine test pilot, went back to China, flew a tour in the old 75th Fighter Squadron, and as a fighter pilot, and then came back, went into test business, had a flame out coming into Andrews in 1954, bringing a T-bird in, and at night, bad weather, and he couldn't get it lit. He hit short, broke his back. He's been paraplegic since '54, but he's got many reasons to have claim to fame, but the main thing, I mean, one of the great things he did was to take that little Comanche airplane that you see sitting out here solo. He flew around the world here about 4 or 5 years ago. I dated him, I keep thinking Roddy was 72, but he informed me that he thanked me profusely and said, I'm really 75. But anyway, Roddy's one of the says that I'm kind of his idol, but he's always been my idol. And one of the things could be that he was flying P-40 with my markers, the one that you see parked here. He was one of the early pilots that was flying. He'd slip off from NASA and come down there and get the flag. And I never will forget that he was really sweating because he'd always been a bridesmaid, but never a bride. He was backed up on a lot of these programs, starting with the Apollo. Of course, he made a lot of trips in the F-15 too. I think maybe 18 or 19 trips he made in that F-15 program. Of course, you know the history. I'm not going into all the details on the thing, but he flew to Columbia and then the Discovery, which were historical. Both those flights had, well, the first one was the first time man on the space shuttle that where he manually flew this thing, testing this deal to make sure that to explore what the reaction could be if we lost everything and had to do these things manually. And then, of course, the Discovery, you guys all know, got up there and made these repairs in space and not been done before. But anyway, Joe and I have been hunting buddies, and it's a great honor for me to even be in the company with this great guy. Joe Ingram. On the place over there. Then he also participated in Desert Storm. And he's now going to an assignment across training with the Navy, and he's going to be flying F-18 with India. Passed me by. Anyhow, Ollie Crawford, who flies the P-40, what can I say? I mean, the guy done so much service to the country, and he spent 2 years as head of the Air Force Association trying to get that thing back on track, which he's done. And he's on the Falcon Foundation out there for the guys at the Air Force Academy. Outstanding pilot, won a great hunter. I found out that all these fighter pilots are pretty damn good hunters. He was one of the original guys that game conservation, what we call corn, game conservation international. But anyway, Ollie's always been very complimentary to me, and I'm honored that he flies an airplane and hadn't painted my markings off that he had. Ollie, would you stand up this? He's going to be flying that P-40, so there's going to be a new face in the cockpit sharing it with Ollie. I'll ask him to stand up too. We have a special guest, a special person here tonight, and he is one of the greatest, Joe and his lovely wife, Patty. Joe Moore was in the Philippines when the Japanese hit, and we don't have time to go into it tonight, but I can tell you the experiences he had flying over. He was flying the same type of aircraft we were flying over in China, the P-40B. But he got through that episode, and then Joe was one of the early, if not the early commanders of the 7th Air Force during the Vietnam War, and he was pretty outspoken about what we ought to do, and I've heard him get on several lecture things together, expound. He doesn't put any punches on what we should have done over there, and he's very, very disappointed that we were not able to go in there and get this thing over with. But anyway, I'd ask Joe to stand up if you would, please.
In September 1942, General Robbins was assigned to the 80th Fighter Squadron, 8th Fighter Group of the 5th Air Force. During his time in the Pacific, he flew 181 combat missions in P-39 and P-38 aircraft, scored 22 aerial victories, making him one of America's leading air aces and the leading air ace of the state of Texas. In completing these 181 missions, he flew a total of 607 hours, which is a very long time to be alone in combat skies. It took a man of tremendous endurance and courage, and General Robbins was that man. On 2 separate occasions, he destroyed 4 enemy fighters on single missions and was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross each time.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce and to welcome our next honored guest, General J.T. Robbins.
It's always a very tough act to follow Tex Hill and his flying tiger outfit, but I've done it before and I'll do it again. I want to introduce 2 fighter aces in the crowd tonight that excelled in their business during the war. First, I want to introduce a man who was part of the Arkansas National Guard before he entered the service, became a fighter pilot later on, went to Europe, flew the P-47 over there. He became a squadron commander, the vice commander of the group, and subsequently became a group commander of the 36th Fighter Group over in Europe. He flew out of Belgium, France, Germany. He flew 136 combat missions over there. He had 8 air victories to his credit. And they tell me he destroyed many, many aircraft on the ground and busted up a whole bunch of locomotives. I don't know how many. Paul Douglas served another tour in Vietnam while I was chief of staff of Blackout. He was a wing commander down there for the F-105s and a personal friend. He and his wife I've known for quite a while. I want you to meet General Paul Douglas. Another fighter ace that is one of the most interesting men I've ever known. He was born in Houston, Texas, joined the Air Force in 1941, the Army Air Corps in 1941. Learned how to fly airplanes while he was at Texas A&M, same time I was there. He was assigned to the 94th Pursuit Squadron, 1st Pursuit Group in California early in the war, flying P-38s. They took their outfit across the Atlantic, deployed to Europe, and part of his outfit was one of the lost squadrons that landed on the ice cap in Greenland. This man has more wild fighter stories than anybody I've ever known. He flew missions over northern France, North Africa, and once avoided escape when he lost his P-38 to he created an international incident, matter of fact, when he lost his P-38 to the Portuguese airport. I want to introduce now Lieutenant Colonel Jack Hill. In two tours of combat, he flew a total of 142 combat missions, 528 combat hours. He was credited with 8 victories, as was Paul Douglas. Jack Hill, please stand for the It was really a pleasure to have flown and worked with people like these two. Thank you very much.
On April 18, 1942, 16 B-25s stood on the pitching deck of the USS Hornet ready for a daring, top-secret mission, a bombing raid on Tokyo and 4 other major Japanese cities. 80 men, including their leader, Lieutenant Colonel James Jimmy Doolittle, planned to embark a full day and 150 miles ahead of schedule after being sighted by an enemy vessel. The odds for success were dim. Though the pilots had been practicing for several months, fully loaded B-25s had never taken off from an aircraft carrier. Furthermore, they would be arriving at their final destination in China at night with little or no fuel remaining, if they made it that far.
Well, when I got rowed across the end of the deck, everything seemed to be going fine until I got right over the bow, and I got a tremendous gust of bow wash. It pitched my aircraft up at a very high rakish angle, so I hollered at my co-pilot, "Help me get this nose down." We had to stiff arm it down because we'd already trimmed the airplane full tail heavy, which is what we had been trained to do in doing it on the runway.
Each 5-man crew made its way to the Japanese coast and completed its mission. They were met with surprisingly little resistance. The long journey home, however, would become a mission in itself. 3 men were killed and several were seriously injured during bailouts and crash landings over the East China Sea and inside the Chinese mainland. The Japanese captured 8 men and later executed 3 of them. 1 crew made it to Russia, but was interned for more than a year. All 16 airplanes were lost. For the United States, after 5 grim months of defeat in the Pacific, the sacrifices and triumph of the Doolittle Raiders were an immeasurable boost to morale. For the Japanese, caught unaware, the embarrassment of a successful daylight raid on their unpenetrable capital proved greater than the actual destruction of property. The psychological effect was so profound that Japan rushed ahead with a plan for revenge. The result was one of the greatest naval battles of all time, Japan's disastrous assault on Midway Island, a U.S. victory that would prove a pivotal turning point in the war. News coverage at the time was understandably vague, given the top-secret nature of the mission. President Roosevelt joked that the raiders had taken off from mythical Shangri-La.
The navigator on the first B-25 off the carrier, Hornet. Jimmy Doolittle's B-25 was our very own Central Texas Wings Hank Potter, Colonel, USAF Potter.
The Doolittle Raiders Association, we get together once a year. And this really started because of our leader, General Doolittle. I'd like to, I'm going to get to it. I've got a few words to say about each of them. And first of all, I'm going to talk about the crew I was on, which was General Doolittles. They often are asked, I am anyhow, but God, you must have been a real great crew to be on heads and go with Doolittles. Well, the truth of the matter is, it's a kind of a, you know, the old saying about good news and bad news. Well, I'd make it good luck and bad luck. The bad luck was that the pilot that we went to Florida to start training with, Vernon Stinsey, became ill and had to go to the hospital. Well, here we are, 24 crews. We didn't know where we were going, but we knew that they weren't going to take all of us. And so here we are, a crew without a pilot, and we were afraid to get behind in what we're doing, so our co-pilot, we nominated Dick Cole as a committee of one to go to an operations officer and see whether or not we could get a pilot that would keep us up to speed on our training. Well, it happened that at that time that Doolittle needed a crew and an airplane to use to travel about the country doing the coordination that he had to do to get this mission underway. And so the good luck was that we got to fly with him on that, and it was even better luck. And when it came time to go on the mission, he kept us on. And poor Vernon Stinsey got out of the hospital, but was left without a crew. So that's the way it is. We were, not that we were good, it was that we were lucky. But anyhow, I'd like now to introduce and have Dick Cole and his wife Martha stand up. And without him, I don't think I would have been Doolittle's navigator. Of course, all the people on the cruise were not pilots and weren't navigators and weren't bombardiers. The important people on those crews were our crew chiefs, our gunners, our engineers. And we have one of them with us tonight, Joe Mansky. And I've got to say to you a couple of things about Joe. First of all, Joe was either the youngest man of the 80s or else he was the second. But he and Dick Cole, not Cole, but Cole, who was also an engineer gunner, they argue about it to this day, and I'm not going to try to explain to you which one is the youngest, because I never did figure it out. But anyhow, Joe flew on crew number 5, which was piloted by Dave Jones. I believe Dave was the captain then. Well, several days before it was going to be time to take off, the auxiliary tank on his airplane, and that was a bladder that was up over the crawlway station of B-25, sprang a leak. So Joe, he had to get out there, and I don't know how he pulled that out of that airplane and what he did. But he did get it repaired and got it back into the airplane just in time for the mission. And without that tank, why, I don't know what would have happened. I'm not sure they'd even made it to Japan. But the thing was that when they were refueling the airplane and bringing it up, getting ready to go, it was right about that time is when we were intercepted by the picket boats. And so while they were refueling the wing tanks, I think Joe was on the right wing and the Navy man on the left wing, they cut the fuel off. And so they were short of fuel. They knew it when they left. But I don't think they realized just how short they were when we got in the air. And after they'd been there a while, Joe got to figuring on that, and he got thinking, we don't have enough fuel to get to China. So he called on the intercom up to Dave Jones, and he says, "Sir," he says, "I don't think we have enough fuel to get to China." And Dave Jones came back and he said, "That's right." Well, anyhow, after he heard that story, I had to ask Joe, "What did you do then?" And he says, "Well, you know," he said, I had a fine Christian upbringing. started it, and rightly so, they call that Lucky 13, because about of all the aircraft, that is the only crew whose all the members are still alive today. But Dick also has another thing, besides being on the Lucky 13 and being the chairman of our group. We almost have to call him the official photographer of the Tokyo raid mission. Okay, why is that? Well, we had cameras in our airplanes, but because of the situation with the ditching, the bailout, all of that film was lost. But Dick had a handheld camera, and he had presence of mind enough to take 2 photos over Japan. And those are the only 2 photos that were taken that were returned and were ever able to be used. And so we kind of call him the official photographer of the Tokyo raid mission. I'd like to have Dick Knobloch and his wife, Rosemary, I'm sorry, stand up, please. I thank you all for being here tonight, and as a member of the Central Texas Wing, man, we needed you. And we're glad that you're here, and I just hope that you have enjoyed enough tonight and will enjoy the rest of the evening enough so that next year you will come back again. Thanks a lot.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for all of these honored guests. They're sitting at the tables at the front of the stand to the left and the right. Great American heroes, ladies and gentlemen. I think that they deserve a standing ovation. Thank you very much. And we want you to know